Welcome to How We Heard It, the podcast about music, pop culture, movies, and more, with your hosts, Wayne Bledsoe and Chuck Campbell.
Namaskar, this is Chuck Campbell with
Wayne Bledsoe, and
I'm John Baker.
That is hello in Bengali. I've noticed we've had some Bangladesh listeners here and there, so I thought let's just say hello to Bangladesh.
Blowing my mind.
There you go. Anyway, this is episode 90. We are going to talk today about why people stop listening to music as they get older. Now, there are a lot of answers to that. What?
New music.
New music, yeah.
Seeking out new music.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So, and they do, and we've all got friends that have.
Right.
I think all three of us are kind of exceptions to the norm. Wayne and I have been writing about music for most of our careers.
But the difference now is you're not being paid to listen to music.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
And so you might not seek new music as much because it was just shoveled onto your desk.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, so for me, I was, I made the decision back when I started writing about music that I wasn't going to play catch up with, the Beatles and all that stuff because I knew I couldn't. And I knew that I was never going to compete with older critics. And I knew that anytime I would try to write about stuff like that, it would never be good enough. So I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to start now. And what's happening here in the late 80s, that's where I'm starting. And then I kept going for decades. So all of a sudden I could make, references and all that. And I could catch that, even if I couldn't go all the way back to the 60s.
And I was always going backwards.
You were.
I was going forward.
Yeah.
I would hear somebody think something new and find out that they liked this artist or were influenced by this artist. And I'd go back and listen to this other stuff. And then I'd hear something in a movie.
Right.
Or whatever, and go back and check that stuff out.
Right. And you had a natural interest in music.
Right.
And fostered by a family of people who were interested in music. And it came slower to me. I was just more of an average person.
And John made music.
Yeah, and that's it. I was going to say, Wayne and I have written about music for most of our careers, and John, you are a musician, and you are a producer, and we're in your studio here, so...
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but I worked at a record store for years, too.
And you work at a record,
So, that's
definite exposure.
Yeah, you get... New music gets shoved in your face. I mean, whether you like it or not, when you're in that environment, same as when you're reviewing music, I'm sure.
Right.
But we started listening to music and got interested in music before we became critics. You heard ABBA.
Long.
Yeah,
not long before for me. I was kind of appointed the job, but yeah, I know what you mean.
But that's the thing is, when you're a teenager, you're trying to sample everything. It's like the world is a buffet.
Right.
And you're trying to get a little bit of this. But what's interesting to me is like a lot of that music I loved then, I still love now, which is with most people.
Right.
But like the books and the movies and stuff like that I saw then that affected me then, I still have a soft spot for that stuff. And, it's like, you create your philosophy of life, a lot of us, because of the art that you consume and love.
When would you say you started backing off on listening to newer music?
About the time you started writing, no.
Because I was going to take that over. Yeah.
No.
Or was it just what I was writing? What are you saying?
No, I was just joking.
Okay. That's when I decided I didn't care about old music.
I probably didn't stop just really seeking out new music until I was in my later 40s.
Okay.
I was still writing about music then.
Right.
But I wasn't as hungry for it as I was before that. But then there would still be these moments where I would hear something new and go, oh, man, that's what I've wanted. I've been needing something like this.
Right.
And I still get that occasionally, but it's much more rare.
Right. And, John, I know you're not listening to Top 40 radio or whatever, but you are still finding new stuff like from Spotify or whatever
Well, I use Apple Music.
Apple Music, right?
Yeah, I used to use Spotify, and Spotify does a lot better job of shipping you new things to listen to.
Sure.
With Apple Music, you kind of have to go out there and look for it.
Right.
But the search is fun for me. And it's not always new stuff. What I love better than anything, and I've gotten recommendations from both of you guys of like, if I hear a song by an artist that put out an album in the 70s and I hear it and I go, wow, and I love it, and I listen to that album and then go back and find out they've got 10 albums, that's all new territory for me. It's old, but it's new.
Well, yeah, from what I gather from my little research here is that even that's unusual for people. Even like if they love 70s music, if they find out about new 70s music now, they're not going to go listen to it. And it's just a psychological, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Well, for me, like I've said before, my job was new music, and that's what I was doing for decades. And it had only been about a year after I stopped writing the column that you and I started talking about this podcast.
Right.
And I was still so ingrained to listen to new music. And, even I had reviewed people like Olivia Rodrigo and Billie Eilish, a lot of the Gen Z people. I was still reviewing those when I quit.
Right.
So I didn't really have a gap. I mean, I could see that it would probably come eventually, but now that we're doing this, I still am keeping up. And so I never really dropped it. I don't feel the emotional ties to, the oldest stuff, but I still can analytically listen to it. And I can still feel joy in new music and just them. I can feel empathy for them, even if I don't directly relate to them. If they're talking about, new love or first love and stuff like that, I can, just because that's what I've been doing all along.
Well, what I wound up doing was getting more into local music.
Right.
Because I could go out. I mean, I got to be friends with so many local musicians.
Sure. I mean, that was a big part of your beat, too. It's like, we've got a big music scene, and you had a handle on it.
Right. And I would go out to these shows, and I would see somebody, like, open for a band I already knew and really get into their music and things like that. So I was listening to new music I'm still listening to new music. Right. But it's more locally based. It's, you can go see a $10 show in Knoxville, and I get more satisfaction out of that than going to a big arena show from some, big national act.
Right.
And
well,
I think it's just as good.
I used to feel like I had to know everything.
Right.
I had to know anything that was on the charts, and I don't feel like that anymore. Yeah. I can pay attention to something. I'll spend a little time on the new music channel on satellite and looking, reading, and part of it too, I do have some friends in my friend circle who are still keeping up with music. That makes a big difference, because if you all drop off, then you're not sharing anymore, and it's not part of your friend circle or anything like that. And both of you know lots of musicians. What are you going to say?
It was funny because I think it was the first year I got to vote in the Grammys, and you sent me this message about Doja Cat, and I'd never heard Doja Cat, and you were just tearing me a new one because and it's like, I'm not going to vote in that category because I don't really know that category.
Like, oh my God, that's all I would want to do would be vote in that category.
I know.
Vote in her category.
We got to get you on there. I've got to resubscribe. I haven't paid my dues in a couple of years.
Well, the thing I'm kind of hearing from you, Chuck, is that you need some kind of an assignment to make you listen to new music.
Yeah.
You need a reason.
Huh. Yeah. And if we weren't doing this, I don't know if I would keep doing it.
Huh.
Yeah, because for me, it's just living.
Yeah.
I mean, I just am I need new music. I get bored really easily, and I've got an insatiable appetite for new stuff.
Well, how about the older stuff? We're older now. That there's older stuff and older stuff. And do you continuously, like the oldest stuff, high school days, whatever, for me, I don't go back to it as much as I would. Part of music is it defines who you are. We use that to define who we are, to build our identity. That's why it's so popular with younger people, like teenagers, is because they're still very, undeveloped, and then when you get cooked, you can go back to what you used to listen to, and it's comforting and all that stuff. But I see so many of my own identities changing. Yeah. So who I was in high school changed a lot, to college, and then to living alone in Florida, then to all the travel that I did in the 90s, and there's like a different Chuck each time. And the oldest one's the one that was in school. I don't identify with that Chuck as much. I'm going to get weird here. So, but anyway,
I don't listen. It's funny because I get different things. I mean, I still get, there's certain songs and certain albums. I still get that feeling I had when I was a kid or when I was a teenager. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it's a little bit removed now.
Right.
And once you've kind of fallen in love with an album or something, and you've really listened to it, and you listen to it for years in a row. It's like I've said, the Cars Candio is one of my favorite. It's one of my Desert Island discs. I don't listen to it that much because I know every note on it.
Right.
I mean, for me, it's novelty. I need something new that I haven't heard before.
But one of the things I discovered too is like when I was 12 and 13, I loved Alice Cooper. And then I got to be, this is what I listened to when I was 12 and 13. I'm 15 now, and I don't listen to that.
I can practically drive.
Got to have some pride.
Right. And then it's like, years later, it's like, what the hell was wrong with me? This is great music. This is terrific. And I enjoy reappreciating this stuff on a better level.
Yeah.
Right.
And I do that pretty regularly, but also like Judy Sill, who was out there in the 70s, and I didn't hear her.
Okay.
I knew one song by her that was covered by the Turtles.
Okay.
And then when I finally heard her, it was like, wow, how the hell did I go all these years? I went 40 years and never heard this woman.
Right. Well, and I think there's also some truth to the idea that you can be ready for something or not ready for something.
Right.
I mean, it's like I've had somebody, oh man, you got to get this album, and I get it, and I'm just like, I don't get it. And then 4 years later, I'll say, I'm going to give that another shot, and think, wow, how did I miss this?
Yeah,
I just wasn't there yet.
Well, what was really bad is when we were reviewing albums and you'd do that. It's like you'd listen to it and go, yeah, it's okay.
And then it would go on to become some huge...
Well, I mean, at the time, most of the time it was becoming a huge thing. It's like, I don't get it. And then like a year later, it's like, why the hell didn't I get this? It's really, really good.
Yeah. I could take back some of my reviews.
No, me too.
For sure.
Well, and I think, Chuck, you touched on something before that, especially for younger listeners, teenagers that are just kind of coming into their own identity, it is, I mean, the music you listen to is a projection. This is my group. This is my clan, whatever. And then I think as you get older, at least I can only speak for myself, but from, all of those rules, they don't mean anything anymore. So it's like, I'm not trying to, I'll listen to anything. And that used to be that I was really anti-synthesizer, drum machine-based stuff, and I just wouldn't listen to like Depeche Mode and those bands in the 90s. When I was working in the record store, I was like, I hate that music.
Right.
And now I don't have those judgments anymore.
Right. Yeah.
You can't afford them.
Well, so we're kind of insiders, and we have more motivation to listen to music than the average Joe and Jill and all that stuff. And I did look up like Psychology Today to find out, why do people stop? And it's very clear that there are a lot of reasons why people stop listening to new music. And we can go through that if you want.
I want to hear that.
Because I think, so one, music, this is also this, I got this just AI stuff too, but I tried to back it up with more than just what AI said.
Oh, yeah.
But musical preferences are heavily formed around ages 13 to 14 and solidify in early adulthood. And then it says they're more emotionally resonant, so we tend to get more streamlined with our emotions as we get older, because they're not as chaotic and they're not as hard to explain. So your formative years, 13, 14, that's when you start finding your niche, and then over the years, that's your guideline, your general guideline for music. And then when you get older, you don't relate to new music the same way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that kind of makes sense.
Now, that's not going to be for us. We're talking about maybe some people, out there who are not as committed to music as we are.
Yeah. I mean, but I think so much music is made about love and all the emotions that are really new to you when you're that age.
Right.
And the longing for those emotions, that I think that's what ties it to some extent. Right. And later on you listen to other music that has deeper, different emotions.
Even about love, though.
Even about love.
When you're a teenager in love, that's maybe
all songs about
hormones.
Yeah. Infatuation songs.
For boys, at least. Yeah, and infatuation, which is not the same thing as love.
Right.
And when you start seeing the complexities of love and all that, and you can feel, a deeper love than you do when you're a teenager, and, you just want to steal someone's shirt or something like that.
Steal someone's shirt?
I don't know. Just, you don't know what you're doing.
I don't know what you were doing.
It's true. It's true. I mean, emotions when you're 13 years old, it's just like it's total chaos. I mean, you're just like, I don't understand these things I'm feeling.
Right.
And you're using that music to help you figure it out.
Right, exactly.
And, express things that you don't know how to express.
Right.
Right.
But go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say, but we remember those emotional days of our youth probably more fondly than they were to experience, because we know now that we got through those days.
Yeah.
So as torturous as they were when you were 15 and crushing on someone and you didn't know why, and it was dominating your mind and you loved and hated them and all that stuff, you know, when you come out on the other end and you look back at it and you see your own naivete about how you felt about the relationship and everything, you feel fondly toward it. So there's more, again, comfort in going back and hearing that and hearing the young, confused you know, what helped you get through that patch and remembering that time of your life. You remember it maybe more fondly, like I say, than it was to experience.
But there's also, I mean, I don't think we're conditioned to listen to, like we are, I mean, as teenagers, you're already conditioned to rock bands, whatever kind of music, rap, whatever. But when you get older, you're not as conditioned to look for your emotions in that music because it's harder to find.
Right.
You know, if I want to find music that I can relate to as an older person, I mean, how many songs are out there about being older that actually are, you know, any good?
Well, this was something I was going to get to later, but it's like, you know, a lot of the artists that we listened to when we were younger are still making music.
Yeah, well,
are you listening to them now?
You know? But, you know, it's funny because Paul Simon is one of the few people, I haven't heard his last album, which is, you know, the Psalms that this thing is put together, but he writes about being older, and I can still relate to those songs.
Right.
And I like him. I always liked him, but I like him better now than I ever did because he's got that range of this song is not necessarily about being a teenager or being in your 20s.
Sure, right.
And there's just not that much out there. I mean, I got into...
I mean, it's not out there in the ways that music is usually out there.
Right.
You know, so you're not going to hear it on
Top 40.
Right. You're not going to hear it on Top 40 or wherever you listen to music. You got to go. And I remember, just for example, a few artists that I recommended in the last several months, who were there, you know, some time ago. And it was like, one was the Chrissy Hynde Duets album. She's like older than us, or she's older than us.
Not much. Not older than, not sure.
Anyway, she's like 70.
Yeah.
So anyway, and a lot of the people that she had the duets with, very comforting, everything. Of course, these were cover songs. Yeah. So, you know, you're not finding a lot of new stuff, but you can hear it in their voices, and her voice is still beautiful, you know, and there's just something, you connect to that on a different level, a level you wouldn't have as a 15-year-old. And then I looked at Garbage, the band Garbage. Mm-hmm. They were big in the 90s, and they were doing techno and all this sarcastic stuff and everything. And Shirley Manson, the lead singer, very pointedly says stuff like, you know, I may be older now, I may be heavier than you want me to be, and I may be, you know, but F you, you know. And it was great. It was like, she was just like, I'm still doing this rock and roll stuff, you know, and she's younger than the guys in the band who do the music and everything. But she's very much addressing like what life is like for her right now.
Well, you mentioned Chrissy Hynde, and one of their best albums, one of the Pretenders' best albums, has the song "Watching the Clothes Go Round," because it's like she's a mom, and she's writing about being a mom.
Right.
She's got dirty clothes.
And she's got clothes she's got to wash, and it's like, this is the drudgery I live through.
Well, yeah, parenthood, that's another point.
Right.
We're going to get to in a minute. The third artist I recommended was Sarah McLachlan, and that was for a different reason, but she still has an amazing voice. Her lyrics are still... She was always kind of ahead of the game as being a little more cerebral about love and stuff like that, but it's even more so now. And there's more of a, not fatalistic, but more of a, you know, I'm getting older kind of tone to it. But the music is still there. It's still lulling, and it's still, but it's again got, and plus she's been affected a little bit by politics and the way things have changed and how the way the world has changed, and a little, you know, spooked by where people are going in their heads these days. But again, that's someone that I didn't hear her big. I saw her. She was on, like, I don't know, Kimmel or something like that. One of the late shows. She did a song, and, you know, that was kind of it. Not her all across the top 10 or anything.
Right.
But so, and I think people like, and you can even look at the Rolling Stones, how they still do like an album or two every decade. But who's buying those, and are they paying that much attention to those? And are those songs... Are they connecting to those songs at all now? You know,
I don't even know. I mean, I listened to the blues thing they did, but it wasn't new music,
right?
You know, but it's funny because like the last act that I really like, went head over heels over and got all their albums, was the Weepies, which the late night radio show I used to do, I had a young act on, and Michelle Porter was in that band, and she said, well, you know, the stuff you've played, you ought to listen to the Weepies. And she was in her 20s, maybe, early 20s, and it's like, I listened to it, and I totally connected. And my daughter knew all about, Lauren knew all about the Weepies and had listened to them. But it's like, even though these people were probably in their early 30s, it was a married couple. They've since divorced, unfortunately. But the way they wrote about relationships and love was not so exclusively young.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I got it. I felt it. And, I mean, I still pull out that music, for emotions that I need to express and feel.
Well, I mean, even like with Wet Leg, they're young.
Yeah.
But I hear so much Elastica. I hear so much
Right.
Riot Girl. I hear all this stuff from, the 90s when they're performing. And you can connect to it. Maybe they're talking about being at a club or whatever, but just the attitude is more developed. The wit is sharper,
Right.
than a lot of younger people might have. And so I can still listen and connect to it. And
Yeah.
it takes me back in time, even if they weren't born in the time that I'm going back to listening to them, if that makes sense.
I'm struck by, we just had a music festival here in town. It's a local music festival, Wayne Stock, named after our friend Wayne here.
Yeah.
But I am struck, there were a couple of bands I saw that I think, well, those kids their parents are probably my age, and these kids have gotten into their parents' record collection, and that's what they're trying to copy. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
It makes me feel, actually, it's good, I think.
Yeah.
They're absorbing influences from the past.
Yeah.
And
And a lot of times they're renewing them, and adding something different. They're not
Right.
just trying to copy. They're not trying to be a 60s band,
Yeah.
but they know what was good about the 60s.
Yeah, and they did a great job.
And that is something that I saw in my research, that younger people will go back and listen to oldie stuff before them. Our friend Olivia Rodrigo.
Right.
Because there is a perceived authenticity to it, which not always true, but anyway, younger people are more open to older music because it sounds, you hear that it's authentic, and a lot of times it was, and a lot of times it was more groundbreaking and everything. Not better. I want to emphasize that, but that, so I think that popularizes it, but, older people aren't as interested in in general, older people aren't as interested in what younger people are doing. And what they said, the average person is about 30, late 20s when they just stop listening to new music.
Wow. We know it's funny because when the Pinklets started, which, they recorded stuff here, but
Three Sisters,
local band, and I felt goofy a lot of times driving down the road, when I had my convertible, my top's in, I've got the Pinklets, which are all these little girls singing.
Right.
But it's like, it was so good.
You weren't driving by elementary school?
No.
Okay, all right.
No, and that's the thing. It's like you feel like, this
Yeah.
is. But they were singing about things that I could relate to and still
Right.
remember.
Right.
And they, they knew melody, they knew,
Right.
harmony, they
Yeah,
knew
they
everything you needed to know to make great music, and they made it, and I could relate to it, and it made me feel
like
younger.
20s, or even, how old are they now?
they're all in their 20s.
Very early 20s though.
Lucy's 23,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Roxy's probably 25.
Yeah, and
they're
Eliza's in college. She just
in
turned
New York.
21.
Yeah, but I mean,
When they first came in here, Eliza was 9.
yeah, and they played Bonnaroo when Eliza was 11.
Crazy. Well, let's talk about children. We keep bringing them up here
Right.
one way or the other. So obviously, as we get older, we have less time, less discretionary time to listen to music. You book up your days with other things, and having children is a huge factor in that. And it's just not, there's just not much time when you're raising children to, listen to the new Tool album or something like that. You know what I mean?
And you
That's when I
end
did
up
start listening to the
and I
Tool
suspect you end up listening to the music that your kids listen to.
Right, you can, but then you got little kids and older kids, and
Right.
I did a lot of reviews of children's music and family albums and everything because I thought it was important because I knew, that parents are still young people in general, and they might still have some thirst for music, and maybe they would like music for their kids that isn't just excruciating for them.
And that's a fairly recent thing.
Yeah. So I would look for music that it's kind of like animated movies too. Now they try to slide stuff in for adults that'll go over the heads of children, not because it's dirty or anything, just because it's beyond their.
They know there's going to be
concept.
some adults in the crowd.
Right. And they started doing that with music, and they stopped just deadening, choruses for 5 minutes or whatever, doing short songs and mixing up the music and maybe making lyrics that can cut on a deeper way if you want to hear it that way. And there's so many, I don't hate kids at all. And there've been kids in my family my whole life, and I've been kind of a substitute dad or dad stand-in here and there over time. But when I'm out in like public or something, and I'll see a mom by herself or a dad by himself with 1 or 2 kids or 3 kids, and they're in line behind me at Publix or something, and the kid starts like, I want cheese sticks. I want cheese sticks. And no, we can't have, it's like, I want to go to McDonald's. And no, we can't go to McDonald's. I'm cooking at home. And I think, how many of these parents, if they spend a lot of times around their kids, how many of their conversations are just these types of conversations? Now, I'm talking young kids. When kids get older, they get fascinating. They start exploring the world. But when they're super young, they're not cooked enough yet, so they're just still what they're going to eat now. And I just feel sorry. And I know having kids could be the best thing that you could ever do and all that stuff. But I feel sorry thinking, what if you had like 4 or 5 hours of your day and these are the only people you're talking to? You've been through that.
I raised 3 kids.
Yeah. So what did you ever just feel like, oh my God, I've got to, because you can't even, if you're with an adult or a friend or something like that, and you say, hey, I'm feeling kind of depressed or anxious or whatever, I'm going to go listen to music. You can't say anything like that to a child, because then they'll think, what did I do? You've got to watch out for them. So how did you handle that, Dad?
Well, as far as the music goes, I had mixtapes.
Yeah.
That I put in. And I'd say, all right, anybody identify this artist, I'll give you a quarter.
Oh, money.
So bribery.
Money.
Bribery
word.
word.
I didn't think about that. Not cheese sticks.
And Lauren figured it out. She figured out if she'd said the Beach Boys or the Kinks, there's a pretty good chance that might be what was on there. So she figured that out quick. And it was, that's one of the coolest things about being a parent is you're able to introduce them to these things, and they'll ask questions about it. And I always sang to my kids. I sing to my grandkids, to get them to go to sleep before, And that's one of the best things is introducing them and knowing that stuff's in there. Mm-hmm. And I still listen to music with them all the time, and then they introduced me to music. You talked about Tool. That was what was funny to me is my oldest son Andrew introduced me to Tool.
Okay,
you'd probably right. It may have been before. It was when Opiate came out, the first album. Yeah, and it was like
very great band. Yeah,
they're a great band, and it was like, oh, this is what the lyrics my son's listening to. Okay,
with that dynamic, it's different from the friend dynamic where you're all the same age. When it's a father-son or a parent-child dynamic, you're kind of like, oh.
I was thinking,
and they're also probably like, this is coming from my dad. Yeah, but we're the exceptions here. I think that if you're people who are concerned about maybe they should try to keep up with music or whatever, your advice to parents would be to kind of make it a shared experience.
Yeah,
and give and take, like listen to what they're listening to.
Yeah, and I remember when, I didn't like Eminem when Eminem first came out. I thought it was so misogynistic, and, and I told my oldest.
It only got worse, but yeah.
Well, I know. But I told my oldest, I said, I'm not buying this for you. If you want to buy this, you're going to use your own money. I'm not going to get this.
Right.
And, that probably
did they
made
respect
it cooler.
that?
They did, to some. I think that that probably, the whole forbidden fruit thing makes it, sweeter.
Sure.
But I think that stuck. And, when my daughter was listening to rap and it was so misogynistic, I'd say, he called her his top hoe.
Oh, you gave her a lot of lessons.
I gave it.
Like you'd say, she'd say, I like that song. I know, it's the producers that wrote it, not the singers. But she knew how to work around you.
But just the disrespect to women, really bothered me that she was listening to it. So I'd always point it out and it's give her a hard time over it. Yeah. And she got it. She's strong as all get out and takes no shit from anybody, which is exactly how I wanted her to be.
That's what you wanted her to be. Well, what would your advice be then to a 30-year-old who's just had her second child and she's got a 3-year-old, and what would your advice be about finding time for music?
I would say expose them to the joy of listening to music. Okay. You know, I have an 8-month-old granddaughter right now, and she is just now, you can tell, starting to listen to the music.
I love it when babies kind of start dancing, just instinctively. That's cool.
And I watched her this morning, and my daughter was telling me how much she has just really started picking up on music and listening to it.
Right.
And I mean, I can tell that when I sing to her, it's a comforting thing.
Right.
And she likes
you
it.
always sing to your children.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. And that's probably I think that maybe parents are concerned about being, and I'm just guessing here, but they just kind of like just throw that part of their life away, and they kind of just orient everything toward children. But there's no reason you shouldn't involve children in music and what you are interested in. And
when I was a kid, it's like when my stepdad would like be with his friends, which he was very, very quiet. But when I'd go and do something with him, if he needed my help on something, it was always great. And you involve them in whatever you're doing that you like, or they can help with it. It makes them feel so much better to feel like, I mean, my grandson and I are going to redo my steps.
Grandson Walter, how old is he?
He's 8.
8. Okay, so how have you been with music with him? Because he's
I've been playing him. I mean, I always have stuff on in the car, and I ask him, what he thinks about this, and he sometimes he's heard something, and we talk about music quite a bit, really. I mean, I sing to him. I always ask him what song he wants, and a lot of times it's Dead Skunk in the Middle of the Road, which is,
but that's okay.
And and then sometimes it's Puff the Magic Dragon,
right?
And so he likes animal songs.
Well, he likes
dead animal songs.
It's funny what they like. I mean, I always thought Puff the Magic Dragon was a really sad song. I liked it when I was a kid too. It came out when I was a kid. But, they connect. They connect emotionally much more than people think they do.
Right.
The parents, I think, need to respect that kids have these deep emotions early on.
And psychology proves that the emotions a child have are just as strong and deep as what adults feel.
Yeah.
Well, and the center in your brain that deals with memory is also just adjacent to your music auditory cortex as well. Right. And so that's one of the things that's magic about music is it just makes you feel things without even really having to go through your conscious mind.
Right.
You just hear something and feel.
Well, and back to my list, that's actually, there is studies or whatever, the psychology today says the brain actually rejects new music when you get older, and it's like because new music challenges us because it's not going down an expected path, and it triggers predictable music triggers safety and comfort. So some people unconsciously are just like they don't want to be challenged, even if it's not crazy new instruments or anything. But even and the brain has less ability to make or notice distinctions in like chords and stuff like that when you get older.
That's interesting.
That it makes it more difficult, more challenging to listen to new music, regardless of lyrics and all of that stuff. But just your brain is just like saying, let's go listen to something we know.
That's interesting. Well, I got into sometime in my 40s, I got into the local band Sinru, and I became really good friends with the leader, Will Wright, and everybody else in the band eventually.
That's a very how would you describe their music?
It's I tell people it's a little Arcade Fire-ish. It's like art rock.
Right.
Yeah.
But when I started going to their shows, I felt this sense of community that I hadn't felt in years.
Right.
And I think that's another aspect of it is, and I'm surprised to what they're saying about how your brain refuses
says,
it.
Our hearing as we age, loud and high frequency new music is off-putting. Even if you like it in the stuff that you're accustomed to, hearing it in something new is off-putting. These are normal people, we're exceptions.
That's interesting because, see, with that, it was like I felt like I was suddenly a part of a community.
Right.
And it's all through the music and the reaction the people around me were having to the music. And that's the same thing Taylor Swift fans get. I mean, they get more of a a thing like here's an icon on stage that they're relating to, and I knew all these people in this band,
right.
So I didn't have that. But it's just the emotion in the music and the sense of belonging. I mean, it touched something in my emotional core that I related to.
And it's like that at music festivals as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like Bonnaroo, for example. I've gone to that 16 years in a row, and it's not necessarily the musical acts, although that is important, but it's like all these different people there, right. And everybody's there because they love music.
Right.
And you can just, I love just the random conversations. You're just like, man, did you hear that?
Right.
To a total stranger.
Yeah.
Right.
And everybody's just so, I don't know. That is definitely a sense of community.
Yeah.
Do you think it's, I feel like, I don't know this because I've not been to Bonnaroo, but I feel like the audience at a Bonnaroo is open to anybody and everybody who's there. Yeah. But there may be older people who are afraid I'm going to stand out because I'm older and I don't want to be, hanging out with these young people if they don't want me around. You know what I mean?
Well, I do because I was always going to Bonnaroo reporting on it and asking people questions.
But that wasn't your experience, though, right? I mean, weren't they more just open to anybody who's there for music, whether you're 80 or 20? Or
for the most part, I mean,
it depends. It also does depend on the act that's playing too.
Right.
Because, I mean, there's some audiences that are just, I was not made to hear this music. It's not aimed at me.
Yeah,
right.
But because I'm definitely, me and my wife are among the olds that are there, and I don't.
But you don't feel unwelcome.
No, not at
And
all.
you've gone how many years now?
16.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Taylor Swift, just to mention her. I think more older people have gotten curious about her because she's her
Such a
career.
sensation.
Yeah, she's persevered now 20 years, and she's also matured, and her lyrics are getting more mature. And I think you see more and more people like on social media where you're like, I don't really relate to her music, but I really appreciate her as an artist, and I appreciate. So just opening up and listening to stuff, especially the stuff that's really hung on there for a long time. You don't have to chase every flash in the pan, and every new singer or whatever. But someone who sticks around, there's a reason for that. Yeah. And her fans aren't just teenagers at all. They're mostly not teenagers at this point.
Well, and I can remember when I was working at the record store, I eventually was the buyer for the store. And so the record labels would come in and, they'd say, here's this new artist we just signed. They're going to be huge. You need to get a bunch of these because they're going to just blow up. So I'd buy, like a whole case of them and put them in display and the thing. And then the next month they'd come in and we'd have sold like 2 of them. And they'd go, we just got this new artist. You're going to need to get a bunch of them. And I said, well, what about those guys?
Those new artists.
No, they're gone. And it just emphasized to me that the artists are just grist for the mill. And that's what makes it more remarkable about Taylor Swift is that she actually has substance and drive. And she's made something out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you've listened to her latest album.
I was really impressed.
Yeah, and you can say, wow, she knows what she's doing, and she's kind of universal in a lot of her messages, And
when that first album came out, nobody was saying that about her.
No,
she was
an amazing teenager in country music who was going to go pop too. And she did.
It was just like, here's another young artist in country music, maybe a little precocious, but
you could tell talking to her that there was more going on.
Oh hell yeah!
And, she may be 16 going on 40.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like when I would go to Nashville, and there was one time I went and hung out with a publicist, and we went to this guy. I can't remember who it was, but he was supposed to be the next big thing. Mm-hmm. And in Nashville, all people cared about was who's going to be the next big thing. Yeah. And it's like it wasn't this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who turned out to be that, but it was somebody who was far more talented. But that was the difference between hearing music here in Knoxville or some other town that's not known as an industry town. It's like you're there to hear the music and connect. And
I think when you're younger, you have the fear of missing out, and when you go older, you don't.
Right.
And that's part of the reason maybe people aren't open to new artists is they don't really care if they're the next big thing. They've got their own lives, and they don't. That 22-year-old's not going to have anything to say I want to hear, which that's unfortunate because they just might,
Yeah. And somebody who's good enough at it, they make you feel it regardless.
Yeah. And you may not need, like this, again, this was another reason that came up, and we've touched on this. You don't need new music to build your identity once you're an established adult.
Right.
You don't have to have that. And if your friend group also isn't listening to new music, then you're all missing out. And that's really helped me. I mean, I've got some friends. My friend Ray, he's one of the best. You know, he sends me. He's not connected to the music industry at all, but he's sending me new artists all the time, like underground people and indie people, and maybe above ground people that I've not heard of. And he knows what I like, and I know what he likes, and you kind of build a support network, and you just keep going back and forth. I know both of you, like I say, you know a lot of musicians and everything, so you got people keeping you active. So if all your other friends have abandoned music, then maybe find a music listening group. I mean, I didn't expect this to be a how not to be an adult who stops listening to new music, but maybe that's what we should do. Encourage people. Don't give up on it.
Self-help.
Yeah. So maybe you don't have to build your personality anymore, but you can still take so much more out of music.
Yeah, but I think that's probably the same with art overall.
Yeah.
I mean, not just music.
Well, I mean, as evidenced by you guys coming in to work on this podcast with you guys are really into movies. And I like movies, but I've just never been, encyclopedic about it like I have been about music.
Right.
But you guys have engendered that in me. I mean, I've really started watching movies a lot more.
Yeah.
Because of the conversations we've had in this room.
Yeah, and you guys both
I think we would have both been movie writers, if we weren't music writers.
Yeah. But you guys have, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, you two have both introduced me to new music.
Yeah.
Since this podcast started, and it's like, I'm really glad.
Well, another benefit we had, Wayne, was that we worked in the entertainment department.
Right.
So we had a movie reviewer, and she was always into new movies, and she became, by extension, interested in new music, and we became, by extension of being around her, interested in new movies. We had a TV writer, and then he was interested in new music, and then we had other staff, that we were all part of this little team of people trying to stay up on everything that's entertaining. So that's what we were getting at work every day.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that. They don't have jobs like that.
Yeah.
So
we got
were
so
lucky.
We got so much stuff in, music, movies, everything else that we couldn't keep up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so we were just always back and forth.
Yeah.
So it was a support system.
Yeah. And people are amazed sometimes when you tell them, I used to get at least 10 new albums a week.
A week. Yeah.
At least. And you couldn't ignore them.
Well, you
had to.
Yeah, you couldn't keep up with it all.
I was only doing 3 a week, so, 7 of them were going to have to hit the road.
Yeah, with me it was more, okay, I'm going to have to listen to this because this actor's going to come to town and I'm going to have to interview him.
Yeah.
And, that's where lots of the new stuff came in, or some publicist knew what I liked in particular and said, you need to really listen to this because you'll like it.
Well, that goes to another reason why people stop. Okay. They're confused now about where to even find new music, about how to find new music, what the choices are, what their options are. You're just going to see the same few people over and over, but there are thousands, tens of thousands of other artists that they've not seen or known. And it's just easier to devote your time to artists that and music you'll enjoy.
Yeah.
So, again, you'll kind of default to, and you just... Again, you don't feel like you have time to dissect new music. Now, you've brought up before, John, like I think we were just talking about it, that on Apple Music and everything, you get suggestions. And Spotify's even better about giving suggestions about stuff. If you like this, then you might like that. Yeah. And now that, like entertainment journalism's fallen off and you don't know there aren't Waynes and Chucks all over the world anymore, if you don't even know where to start, then that can help, and Reddit or whatever. You see a question on, I really would like to know a new band that, and I mean, I don't want to listen to my Heart albums for the rest of my life or whatever. What should I listen to? And there will be younger people and older people who need to interact more, you know, and I think younger people are often open to what older people have to say, but not so much the other way around.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. We're talking about kids. It's like, I mean, some of the stuff my kids introduced me to, my son Rylan introduced me to Kimmo Pojanen, who's like the Jimi Hendrix of the accordion. He's from Finland, I think. And it's like, it was great. I mean, I loved, my kids introduced me to stuff. My older son Andrew got me listening to Power Man 5000. Which,
okay.
I mean,
I know that one.
They were great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, this is really aggressive, loud stuff that I want to, I could relate to this. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, I love when young people introduce me to something that I end up loving.
Right. So for people who don't love that yet, how would you foster that? I mean, what would you...
Keep your mind open.
Yeah.
And that's part of it.
Ask questions.
Yeah, and pay attention to your kids and what they're doing and what they're listening to. And I mean, there's a lot of it I hated.
Right.
And like, a lot of the rap that Lauren was listening to, I just thought, this is just, I mean, it's a terrible message, and they're not that good at what they do, right. Some of them. And then some of them are like, oh, yeah, this is a step above. This is something that's actually, I really can like.
And you just might happen across, I mentioned a Demi Lovato album
right.
a few years ago, or a few episodes ago, good Lord, because she had been through so much in her life. She was a pop singer,
right.
piffle, all that fluffy stuff and flirty things and whatever. And then she went through everything she went through. I believe she was diagnosed as bipolar and an eating disorder, maybe suicidal tendencies. I'm not sure. Well, she addiction. She had overdose, a terrible overdose, and all this just in a few years, and strokes. Just all this stuff happened to her. And then she came out on the Grammy stage, and all of your associations with her before that were just worthless pop. And she did this devastating cover of her song Anyone. Mm-hmm. And like the Grammy audience was kind of surprised because they were like, oh my God, how many? And it basically documented everything she had been through. Wow. And she was talking about how, no one listens to me anymore, and no one listens when I sing, and why am I praying when no one's hearing me? And it's like real emotional. Take that moment, if you happen to see that, look her up or look somebody up. There'll be a moment when some younger person or new artist will flash into your periphery or whatever, and take a minute, and listen to it and see what that's all about.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I watched there's a documentary on Jeff Buckley that's out there.
Yeah, I just watched that.
Yeah, and I always liked him. I mean, I was familiar with his dad. That was, I'd listened to his stuff, and some of his stuff was great, and some of it was like a little too experimental for me at the time that I was listening. But I liked him. I like Jeff Buckley better now than I did when he was making music.
Yeah, me too. Well, just after watching that documentary and learning about him, I always thought he was a much more sensitive artist than I gave him credit for.
Yeah. All right.
But what an otherworldly voice.
Yeah, yeah. But that's something that a younger person would have introduced me to, maybe. I mean, we were writing about this stuff, so we heard it at the time.
Right.
Well, I mean, the internet to me so far has not caught up with. I used to read music reviews. That's how I got. I mean, I read Rolling Stone reviews. I read Musician Magazine reviews. I read. I mean, anywhere there were reviews. And then, of course, I've worked in a record store. So, and the whole record store experience is pretty much gone now. I mean, you can go to a used record store, but there are
not the same. They're promoting the old stuff that you already had.
But I used to just love to spend 2 hours going through the stacks in a record store. Not everybody has that kind of time, but I loved, and I got to know the people that worked at the record store. I mean, before I started working at a record store, and there were some of the employees that I know. I know he likes good stuff, so I'm going to ask him what's good out right now or whatever.
Well, I tell you, I mean, this just irritates me, but like the Bad Bunny album, right? He was the most streamed artist globally last year. He won Grammy for Best Album, and he was the Super Bowl halftime performer. And you cannot find a single one of his CDs anywhere in Knoxville that I can tell. Maybe some, I mean, not even Target, not even, it's like, and they'll have like a lot of the top artists and everything, but how can the biggest album in our country
not be available
anywhere? And I mean, there are places, Barnes and Nobles they sell, and Target and the FYE.
But nobody buys music anymore.
Well, they do, but but there's this presumption they are buying. You will find Sabrina Carpenter and Taylor Swift and Tate McRae and Benson Boone and all that stuff. You will find those, but Bad Bunny was nowhere in Knoxville.
Well, I hate to say that I do buy CDs, but mostly I buy them off Amazon.
Of course,
because
you don't have the option.
I mean, that's where I can find it.
Yeah,
and I mean, when you suggested Olivia Rodrigo, and I broke down and I bought it. I went to Amazon.
Now, see, I did see her in Barnes & Noble, but no Bad Bunny. I've gone in there looking, and I see lots of artists, but for whatever reason, he was just excluded.
Somehow he got...
He did fun without us. Yeah. He didn't need Knoxville, turns out. Yeah. But it's just frustrating that, maybe people were interested in hearing that. People who wouldn't normally be. But
well, after he played the Super Bowl, I watched that. I think we all watched it. And it was like, oh, John didn't.
Right. But I sure did.
But I thought it was, I'd listened to the album before we did our Grammy thing.
Yeah.
And liked it.
Yeah.
And I thought he did a great job. Yeah. And I thought I don't care that he wasn't singing in a language that I knew every word.
Right. And why do you have... so many people were put off. It's like, well, when I realized he wasn't going to sing in English, I just turned it off. It's like, well, you're a pretty small person. Seriously. In a lot of countries, everybody speaks 2 or 3 languages. Yeah. It's so awful to you that you couldn't just ride with it or look it up. It's like, if that's how you're going to be, then just go be that person,
Yeah, but we did our, a podcast on international music that we liked. And it's like there's so much stuff out there that you can get the gist of what they're saying just from the emotion in the music.
Yeah.
And music is a language unto itself, too.
Right.
Yes, it is.
And you don't have to... even if the word says something that's the opposite of what you're taking from it is important. And you use it for what you want it for. It's... anyway.
My Psychology Today says that men are less open to new music than women are. And I think that's probably true. I felt like women, I remember, like with the people we worked with, worked with people from all ages, and it does seem like women in their 30s were still more interested than men who were getting to that age.
But see, it's hard for me to relate to that one way or the other because so many of my friends are musicians.
Right.
I'm sure.
Yeah, we're like I say, we're kind of not the norm. So we're just giving advice on how to get a little more music in your life because it does do you good. But and there's another thing here.
Okay.
It's called the mirror exposure effect. You know what that means?
No.
So the more familiar we are to something and the more often we are exposed to it, the more we tend to like it. Now, we've all gotten overexposed to songs.
Yeah.
So when you hear something and you hear it repeatedly, it's just going and you like it, then you're going to take a chance on something new or you're going to go back with something you like. And I think as you get older, it's like you don't want to waste your time. I don't know what it is. But
well, and you and I have always... It's always pissed us both off every time we see those memes come up. If this is the music you listen to, you had a wonderful life. And this is the best music of all time.
There was a meme, and I think it was like 16 album covers. Yeah, 4x4.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is what I listened to in the 70s, and this is what I listen to today. Yeah, and one of the album covers was Fleetwood Mac. One of them was maybe Queen. But then there was just such garbage in there, too. And it's like, well, you're just an idiot then, It's like, and that's the thing people do, is they turn this, it becomes personal. And
it becomes pride, too. Yeah. They're proud of it. And that's that's stupid.
And it's like, why? You weren't making the music then. just so happens that there were a lot of talented people your age who made music, but you didn't. So, but that's what just infuriates me is just this notion, this willful ignorance that it just so happens the music during my 15 to 25-year-old is better than any other music before or after it. It's just so stupid and
everybody
so
seems to think
small-minded. And I think a lot of that is fed from the fear of getting older and getting irrelevant, and nobody wants to feel older, and new music makes you feel older if you don't explore it, if you don't listen to it. And if you just see these artists you don't know, you see all the stupid people on social media, it'll be like, Billie Eilish wins her third blah, blah, blah. Who, and there's a meme of like this really cartoonishly old person drooling and everything and just typing who, and it's like automatically, and somehow that you're using that to lift yourself by like, I don't know who these people are.
Right.
I don't have time to learn who these new artists are.
Right.
Well, there have been moments where, I remember when and of course, now they're ancient, but I remember when 311 came out and I reviewed that show.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, this is just not meant for me. This is music that's specifically not for somebody. I was probably in my 30s or something when that came out. I can't remember when 311 hit, but it's like 30s, 40s, how old I was, I'm sure.
Kind of a 90s thing, right?
Yeah. So that would have been about right. And it's like, okay, but other people are getting it. And I did my review saying, you know, people are loving this. I don't quite get it, but, you know, more power to them.
But there's just an automatic resentment of youth, I think, from older people. And young people don't exist to piss you off. You know, they exist because you had children and because they had children. You know, they exist just because it's their time to exist. They're not here to make you mad. They're not here to.
Well, I would disagree with that. I think there's a lot in terms of music in particular is a lot of children co-opt music that they think will outrage their parents.
Yeah, I do think that's true too.
Yeah,
and that's a generational thing.
Yeah,
it goes on every generation.
We did too. You know?
Did too. I know I did.
But you know they don't get mad at them. You know, walking across the mall because they're 20. You know, I mean,
when dubstep came out.
Yeah,
and that's the farthest from anything I wanted to listen to was dubstep. But I had to interview dubstep artists.
Right.
And I really wanted to understand where it came from,
right,
and how it connected with people. And everybody that I interviewed said I was totally wrong because I thought, well, you know, this is because of video game music. You get exposed to video game electronic music that's very simple and funky.
Yeah.
And everybody said, no, that's not it. They really couldn't explain what it was.
Right. But
I still think that helped form that into saying, okay, this is legitimate music. Right. And I mean, it was legitimate music. It's just, it was from a generation that was beyond me.
Right.
And I couldn't quite get it.
Right.
But then there was other music out there.
But you did understand it, and you did get it because you were able to identify cause and see why that music was popular.
Right.
Even if it, again, we don't have to feel the same personal connection to music that we did when we were younger to appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, and I do think it's important for people, for older people, if they can, to find a way to get into music, listen to music, open up to it. Yeah. You can still go back to it. But if you just say, I'm going to just listen to 70s, you're shutting off. I still feel a lot of excitement when I hear something new, even if I don't relate to the lyrics, even if it's somebody singing about, you know, a boy in high school or whatever, I can still feel, the melody or whatever and the enthusiasm. And I just think we all have a lot to learn from each other. And I think young people will, when I've talked to younger people, like at work, about music and everything, they are interested in what I have to say. And they'll talk about what they have and tell me what they have to say and how they feel about it. And that's as meaningful to me as just being the one that talks to them about, well, you know, and that's one thing I've always hated about older critics, like, well, this is just a ripoff of the blah, blah, blah and the blah, blah, blah. That's just so arrogant. It's like you're just like, your stuff is meaningless because my people already did it better, kind of a thing. And we have to compare. We've all compared, because so we can get our bearings, and it's good for older people. Say, oh, you remember Madonna? Well, you're going to like Sabrina Carpenter, you know, or something like that. Not because she's being Madonna, but just because a lot of the same. And it's just the way you do compare people, and you just don't say someone's a ripoff of someone else, because everybody's a ripoff of someone else.
It's all done.
The thing that I always appreciated when I would hear a new act is when the Strokes became a big thing. Remember the Strokes?
Yep.
It's like, okay, they're pretty good, but I know the 5 albums that they have. You know, it's like, but then you would hear somebody like, I can't think of the name of the. It doesn't matter, but there's another band from Sweden that came out at the same time, and it's like they've listened to a whole lot more stuff, and they're doing something that I don't quite recognize, and that was way, way more interesting to me than the Strokes, because I knew this is the artist they've listened to, and this is what they're doing, but when you get something else, that's more intriguing. It's like, okay, where did they get this?
Well, that's your Lady Gaga, I think.
Right.
You'll find influences of this and that and what she's doing, but she packages it in a different way, and she brings her own voice to it, and she brings her own theater to it and all that stuff. And it becomes something new, and it becomes something that's hers and not her ripping someone off.
Well, see, I didn't like her when she came out. And that was one of those things.
She started slow.
But I remember, me criticizing her and my daughter Lauren kind of rolling her eyes at me like, oh, boy.
Here we go.
Stay in your lane, Grandpa.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like you really jabbed Lauren enough about music.
But she was right. That's part of the things that parents can't do a lot of times. And that is part of growing up as a parent is admitting, yeah, my kid was right about this.
Yeah.
And my kids were right about a whole lot of stuff that I was wrong about.
Right. Well, what I want to say is that whoever you are, music was not magically better in your youth than at any other time. Pull your head out of your ass, and just know that's just a group delusion thing that you're subscribing to. Everyone benefits from new music. It will always, whatever was popular to you in your youth in those years will probably always have a really special spot in your life, and maybe younger people won't relate to it the way you do, just like you don't relate to what they do. But just open your mind. The experience of enjoying new music is there. There's lots of great music out there in all different forms, and you can find some. You don't have to change all of your schedules or anything. Dedicate an hour, and say, I'm just going to go see if I can find something today that's like what I liked in the 60s or 90s or whenever.
And go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's been lost on a lot of people that the idea of just sitting down and listening to an album as an evening's entertainment. Yeah. It's just gone. Nobody has that.
Yeah. But I'd also like to add...
Or a collection of singles, in my case.
You can go backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's like... I can't remember how old I was when I first heard the Boswell sisters from the 30s. But it was like...
I still haven't heard them.
Yeah, you probably... Yeah, but it was probably in the 90s.
Right.
90s are right at the early turn of the century. And it was like... It's something from way, way before I was born... But once I heard one of their songs, I wanted to go back and hear everything else. And
that's what I was saying before. I just love, even if I'm hearing an artist that did all their recording in the 60s or the 70s or whatever, but I've never heard them before.
Right.
And then I look into them and find out they've got 10 albums. I want to hear them all.
Yeah, there's new music, and then there's new to you music, which is also new in your brain.
And that generation that heard the Boswell sisters, I guarantee you said, there's nothing good that's new.
Right. What's this garbage with these?
What's this Glenn Miller crap?
Of course. So just grow old gracefully,
and keep your mind open.
Keep your mind open,
and listen to younger people.
And if you're done with music, then keep open-minded to movies or something.
Art,
art of any kind.
Yeah, or just don't try to convince everybody that
don't
know
just
more
tell
than
everyone.
everybody.
Well, and they tell each other that. So then they just have their own, like I say, group delusion. And it's like, you're not kidding anybody.
Well, I may have told you this. I know we're going long here, but I reviewed Tool and REO Speedwagon in the same week. And it was like... Tool's dark, scary stuff. I went to that show. Everybody was as nice as they could be, the most polite people in the world. And the REO Speedwagon were the biggest bunch of assholes I've ever seen in my life.
Even though the band's not.
No, the band's all very nice. They're good people. But it was all these people who were trying to relive their teenage years, and they were drunk, and they were fighting, and they were just total jerks. And it's like... This is the worst crowd I've ever been in, and it's like the most...
And one of the oldest crowds.
Right, and it was like the most bland, middle-of-the-road rock. I mean, I'm not dissing REO Speedwagon, but it's just like, it's not anything edgy or scary.
It's probably the youth thing, like you're saying, trying to relive your youth, and it's like, just, be who you are now.
Exactly.
And just be open-minded and be self-aware.
Yeah.
And live life.
Yeah.
Some people need to get out more.
They do.
Yeah, they do.
I went to a Lindsey Buckingham show at the Bijou. This probably 10 years ago. But man, I mean, and Lindsey Buckingham's solo stuff is fantastic. And he was touring to support his latest solo album. But man, when he played, of course he had to play, some Fleetwood Mac stuff. And man, people just lost their minds.
Yeah.
I'm like... I mean, you couldn't even hear him play because they rushed the stage and were like grabbing at him, and I was like,
that's got to be discouraging for an artist, who had like big hits a long time ago, and you're still trying to make new music, and people just don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Got to dance with who brung you.
Yeah,
and that is a sad thing.
All right, shall we move on to recommendations?
Go right ahead.
All right. Do we want to do music or movies? Both. Well, okay. I'm going to start with music.
Okay.
And I'm going to recommend Queens of the Summer Hotel by Amy Mann.
Yep.
We've talked about her periodically, but that's the last album I believe that she's done so far. and that was in 2021. And the cool thing about this album is it was her first album after mental illness in 2017, which was about mental illness and her own mental illness. And I think she has disassociation.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But Queens of the Summer Hotel in 2021, that was a stage adaptation of Girl Interrupted. So and a lot of people didn't, maybe they missed it. Maybe you guys missed it. I don't know. But, and the thing is, it was chamber pop music. Still Amy Mann's voice and her perspective and everything. But so it had like kind of a shiny accompaniment to her, typically kind of low key. And of course, Girl Interrupted, that was, what's her name? Susanna Kaysen's memoir from 93 that became a movie in 99. So, and it's about mental illness and everything. So you get this contrast of where like the song You Could Have Been a Roosevelt is like deceptively breezy, even though it's dark, or there's like a chipper deja vu song called At the Frick Museum. There's cellos and melody, and the heavy Burn It Out. And Burn It Out, I believe, is about electroshock therapy. And she talks about, mental hospitals, again, Girl Interrupted. And lyrically, she's still Amy Mann, still got that beautiful voice, still one of my favorite interviews. Got to talk to her in person, and she just felt like I bonded with her in her green room. It was just the two of us. But there's a song called You're Lost, and she goes, "You're a balloon and the world's a pin," and who hasn't felt like that? Where just anything and everything will set you off. And then another one, Suicide is Murder. You've got to have the stomach for a heartless killing spree. Anyway, they're like 15 tracks, so it's kind of elegant in a way that she normally isn't, and it's also dark and it's also humorous. So again, Amy Mann, Queens of the Summer Hotel, 2021. I think she's one of my favorite songwriters.
That's somebody we all agree on.
I did not like that record, though.
Oh, okay. Was it the chamber pop, the sound?
Yeah,
because she's normally like an acoustic folk pop type
and
sound.
I thought, Mental Illness was just such an amazing album.
It was amazing, and it was much more personal. This is,
this is other people's,
an adaptation of something else. But I still think it's, got a lot of Amy Mann.
You got something, John?
Yes, it's a band. Let's see, called SML, Small, Medium, Large.
Okay.
And they are. They're improvisational group from L.A. Their debut came out in 2024, and they've got a new one that's called How You Been in 2025. But the first one, 2025, is called Small, Medium, Large, and it's really good music. I've discovered it. There's a music festival coming up in March here in Knoxville, the Big Ears Music Festival, and this band is playing there. But I really like this band a lot and catch myself listening to them quite a bit.
Okay.
Cool. So,
that reminds me of a joke by John Mulaney. I don't know if you remember this, when he was getting into an argument with a drag queen, like on the street. and the drag queen just looks at him and says, "You and your little shirt." He goes, "It's not little, it's medium. Small is little."
He's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I want to recommend the Backsliders, 2 albums, Southern Lines from 1999 and Throwing Rocks at the Moon from 97. And they're a band from Raleigh, North Carolina. They released those 2 albums that are incredible. There's apparently a new album or new EP that I'm going to have to track down. Chip Robinson is the main singer-songwriter, and it is this is during the period when we called it alt country before it became Americana.
Okay.
And these guys are just great Southern kind of rock and rollers. Chip Robinson is one of the great songwriters to come from this area.
Oh, they're from Knoxville?
No, they're from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
So this area of the southeast.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, North Carolina's
and
over the border.
It reminded me of it because my friend Josh Smith, who's in Hanson the Humbles, posted something about one of his favorite choruses is from the song "Abe Lincoln," which is on the Southern Lines album. The line is, "You're fading slow like the blood stain on my sleeve," and it's like that's a great line. But all of the songs on these albums are terrific, and if you like kind of country-ish rock and roll, these guys had it down in spades. And the lyrics are smart, they're funny, they're deep, and either one of those albums is...
Smart, funny, deep, that's a great combo.
Yeah, either one of those albums, pick them up, listen to them, and if you like the kind of music, you're going to love them.
All right. You want to kick over to movies or?
Okay,
TV
well,
or
I can just do. I can do. I just rewatched the movie Shortcuts.
Okay, yeah.
Yesterday, it's from 1999. It's I think director Robert Altman. He's one of the auteurs of the 70s. He did MASH and
Nashville.
Nashville is considered his masterpiece, and McCabe and Mrs. Miller. This is from 1993, so it's after his real heyday, but I think it's his last great movie. And it's all based on Raymond Carver's short stories.
Okay.
And there's like 5 of them that they've interconnected.
Okay.
And it has... It's an all-star cast. It's Andy McDowell is in it. I mean, these are some of the people who were stars then. And Julianne Moore is in it. And just all sorts of people.
Oh, yeah, I remember Julianne Moore.
Yeah. Lily Tomlin and Tom Waits are a couple in it. These are all basically couples.
Yeah.
And they interact.
Yeah.
And Annie Ross is a jazz singer whose daughter is Laurie Singer. And all these things are going on. One of the main... And Huey Lewis from Huey Lewis and the News has a small part in it. One of them... There's one story that's going on where a couple's son has been hit by a car driven by Lily Tomlin, and the kid seems okay, and the kid won't get in the car with her to take him home or anything, and he walks home, and he has a blood clot and is in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
So you're following that story. The Huey Lewis and Fred Ward and Buck Henry are 3 guys going on a fishing trip, and they had to hike 4 hours to get to the fishing spot, but they find a woman's dead body in the water.
Yeah.
There's another movie called Jindabyne that's that same story put out there. But it's what Robert Altman does best, which is interact all these different stories, these different plot lines, and connect them all together. And it's about a 2.5-hour movie. It takes 40 minutes before you can finally start sorting out, okay, this is the story that's following here. And then he'll throw you a curveball by this person is the child of somebody here.
It was way better than Crash, you know.
Crash had problems. I liked Crash, but it was the
same thing with all the short stories and then how it all comes together. And,
yeah. Well, this is all coming together kind of at the same time.
Did Shortcuts win Best Movie?
No, but it was nominated,
Crash
I think.
did.
Yeah, Crash. You know, the thing with Crash is, like, Matt Dillon's character.
I like that.
Yeah,
that was a good subplot. I like that.
He was great. That was where I finally realized, okay, Matt Dillon is like one of the best actors out there because he made you feel sympathy for somebody that you did not feel any sympathy for, and it was more complex. And this is the same thing. All these characters are very flawed. The women come off much better than the men, which was...
Was Julianne Moore like ironing a skirt?
She is bottomless, ironing a skirt.
She had a bottomless scene.
Yeah. So you're getting a total bush shot through this whole thing.
Yeah. and the trees and all that out the window, right?
But there's quite a bit of gratuitous nudity. You see...
Yeah, Huey Lewis, too.
Taking a leak.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to clamp down.
Let's get prudish all of a sudden.
John.
I'm not sure if I recommended this before, but it was a great movie, and I'm always looking for good rock documentaries. And it's from 2022. It's called The Sound of Surf.
No.
And it's a documentary about the rise and all the highlights of surf music. It's got Jello Biafra. It's got Flo and Eddie. It's got Dick Dale. It's just, I mean, if you like surf music, it's an interesting.
I love surf music.
Where'd you see it?
It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
So you can stream it now.
Cool.
What's the name again?
The Sound of Surf.
The Sound of Surf.
From 2022.
Okay,
great.
Cool. All right. I got a Chuck story here from a movie recommendation. So in 2008, there was the movie The Strangers, featuring Scott Speedman and Liv Tyler. They were this young couple who had kind of an uncomfortable night of it, and they're going home to spend the weekend at a cabin out in the woods.
You're not giving too much away by saying that he asked her to marry him. And
okay, no, it's at the beginning. So yeah, before the movie starts, there's a big party, and he asks her to marry him, and she can't say yes, and so they're still committed to staying with each other for the weekend. And it turns into, again, the strangers show up. It's 3. There's a doll-faced pinup girl and the man in the mask, the scarecrow. So it's a man and 2 women wearing masks that show up on the doorstep, and they're intent on a home invasion and killing them. And it's a very disquieting movie because they're not good at fighting back. This couple is.
It's very realistic.
It's very realistic, and that's what we thought, and from the get-go. And they just went. I think it was Liv Tyler's asking them, one of the two women killers or whatever. She said, "Why? Why are you doing this to us?" And she goes, "You were home."
Yeah.
So it really was strangers showing up on a door and knocking and asking, "Is Tamara there?" And that sets it all off. Okay, so in 2018, there was a Strangers 2.
Right.
And this one was like a couple and their teenage kids who were going to like a campground, and the strangers show up there. Now, this one's more of a traditional slasher, and they do fight back, and the killers sort of have superhero powers. It didn't work for me. It's just kind of like whatever. So I noticed on cable, Strangers 2 was on, and I was watching a scene from it. I just like turned on in the middle of the movie. Mm-hmm. And this woman is fighting off a wild warthog. And I thought, well, that's weird. I don't remember that from the movie. And Dollface walks up on the scene and everything, and the woman's like, and it was just really weird. I was like, wow, I must have really hated that movie. I don't remember that at all. And then a week or two later, I see that Strangers 3 is showing. So we go see Strangers 3. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, obviously there's a lot of things that you're expecting you to remember. And I thought, well, God, 2 was like 2018. I don't remember this stuff, and I don't remember these people. Well, it turns out that this Strangers 3 was actually the 5th Strangers movie. And then Rennie Harlan had made a trilogy of Strangers, 1, 2, and 3, after the first 2 movies came out. And 1 came out in 2024, 2 came out in 2025, and 3 came out in 2026. Oh, wow. So I went in, I didn't hear about it. I don't know how I missed it. I missed the first 2. And what I saw was a scene from Strangers 2 from 2025, the 4th movie. So it was real confusing. And I do appreciate that this trilogy, from what I read, the part 3 is better than the first 2 parts. And it's too long, and it's just this extended take of the strangers and getting more into their mentality and who they are and their history and blah, blah, blah. 3 was okay, and supposedly it's the best of the 3. But I want to take this opportunity to recommend the first Strangers movie from 2008, because it was fantastic
and truly disturbing. It was
and it was because it was so realistic. It was because they came across a gun but didn't really know how to load it and how to fire it. And it's like they didn't just automatically have these superhero powers to defend themselves. And it was and these people were strangers, and it was just so creepy. There was no backstory between them and the couple. And anyway.
Yeah, it's I thought that was, I would never watch it again because I was so disturbed the first time I saw it.
I was disturbed too.
Because it was so much like
it was so much beyond a horror, slasher, thriller, or anything like that. It was just like so just gut punch.
Yeah, and because of all those things, very realistic.
Yeah, very realistic.
So but it is a great horror film that I don't want to watch again.
Well, I recommend, if you sounds good to you, then you'll probably like it.
Yeah,
but forget all this other this later Strangers crap. That was just my bad. Okay, so I think we're done here. And if you want to find us, you can find us How We Heard It on all kinds of social media, on YouTube and TikTok and X and Facebook and Reels and Instagram. And you can also write us if you want to do an email at howweheardit@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions, if you have any feedback, if you have any ideas for topics, we're always open. And thank you so much for listening, and we'll come back to you. Thank you.
You've been listening to How We Heard It with Chuck Campbell and Wayne Bledsoe, a podcast about music, movies, art, culture, whatever it is that's on their mind. How We Heard It was recorded at the Arbor Studio in Knoxville, Tennessee by me, John Baker. How We Heard It is a Cozy Planet production. If listening to this podcast has given you a burning sensation, then we recommend you sit in a hot tub until your symptoms fade away. If you'd like to reach out to Chuck or Wayne, or even me, you can send an email to howweheardit@gmail.com. So Thank you for listening, and come on back and we'll have another episode for you next week.